Hello, this is Dwight Norris of Fishing at Work here on the Charles River, here to talk to you about what color worm for bass should you use? There are a variety of colors of bass worms, lizard worms, or pretty much any plastic bait that you can generally use. And if you've probably looked around, there are a couple colors which people are really into, or that's what they do, that's their bread and butter, and they won't go to anything else. But I have a different viewpoint on what you should use for your plastic lure, worm, or whatever color selection. I believe that you should go by what you have in your local area, or what the bass may perceive as a color that it should see in its current environment. So let's hit upon one of the most popular things, which is the pumpkin seed color. It's kind of brownish, as you see here, which is very close to the normal color of an earthworm per se. And you would only see earthworms in certain places. It would be along the shoreline, it would be after a rainstorm, and they would either be crawling up and somehow the erosion or whatever would make them fall into the water. And when that happens, they're going to have a little wiggly action. They'll be trying to escape, and the tail here will try to simulate that actual action when it's falling into the water. So that is the general reason why you get a bite during that first drop. They're expecting it to fall in the water and try to escape. It's going to wiggle, it's going to shake, but it's not really going to fly through the water like a minnow or something. So if you try to do a fast retrieve, it's not going to work, because they're not going to be tricked into thinking a minnow looks like a worm. And that's why you're used to the slow retrieves or the Texas style bullet weight and the bouncing along the bottom, and also the slow descension of an unweighted worm. Now that has been crossed, naturally colored baits such as this Berkeley power worm and pumpkin seed color is really good. Now if you're wondering about the sparkles, that's really just to get the attention of the bass or whatever fish is after it. And then once it gets the attention, it can then do the second stage of investigation, which is this real or not? It will see it's a brownish color, it looks like an earthworm or some kind of natural worm that's more or less seen only on land. And then it will say, hey, I recognize that, I've eaten it before. And then it's going to go to the third stage, which is actually tasting it. It's going to put it in its mouth, hopefully at least halfway, and usually by head first, it'll take the hook with it as well, just the edge of the hook, hopefully. And then it'll take a taste. And at that point, if you have a plain plastic bait, it's going to know decently quick, within, I don't know, 2-3 seconds at the most, that this isn't real, and it might spit it out. Or it might just hold it in its mouth and just look for something else and forget it's there. I've seen that before. But generally it's gonna test it and then spit it out if it's not truly hungry and it's ravenous and in instinct mode. But if it is a really finicky bass, it will need something else, a fourth level, to actually get it to actually swallow the whole thing whole. If it's not a reaction bite. Reaction bites, they suck the whole thing down before they even think. They don't care about taste. They see it, it looks smaller than them, they eat it immediately, and if something bad goes on, they'll spit it out later. But when they're finicky, you need a fourth level, and that fourth level is going to be taste. So scented baits, either the spray-on kind with the Berkeley, or the mold injected scents here that help the fish hold on to the bait, supposedly, which I've tested, is actually near true, 18 times longer, which comes out to technically it comes out to 18 seconds. On average, they believe that an unscented bait will only last 1 second in a fish's mouth before it actually spits it out. I've seen between 1 and 3, so that's fairly accurate. I'd say not 18 times longer, but more like 10 times longer is probably a better way to describe it. But with that fourth level, they're all in, and that gives pretty much anybody the chance to hook the fish. They'll either feel the weight of the fish, they'll feel the fish moving away from them, or they can see their line either getting slack, a lot of slack all at once, and there's no like holes there for it to fall into, or the line's moving left or right. Those are generally the things you're going to see. And with that given amount of time, 18 seconds, a long time, you'll either be able to hook the fish, or hopefully it doesn't start eating it, and then you hook it poorly inside of its stomach, and then you really have to have some technical tools like kind of like that Mr. Crappy popper that pops the hook out and keeps the barb wrapped around the device so you can slide it out without grabbing something else. It's a great device, and there's some others just like it. You can do that with pliers too if you're really good. It takes a little experience, but the smaller the mouth of the fish, the harder it is to see and do. So another color that's popular is I have an example here of the Zoom trick bait. You saw me do it in the Zoom trick bait video, but it's a solid black color. Now, people probably wonder, what is a solid black color supposed to do? There are a variety of worms which are very dark. They don't have much going on with them, and the black kind of covers that. Also, in certain situations when a fish is looking at something, all it sees is the dark like a silhouette of a worm. If you have like sparkles or something, you might get confused. Is that a fish? I mean, is that a worm? Is it not a worm? Is it a fake? And if you give them a plain, like a ribbed black worm that's like has a nice smooth texture, they'll think it's like a shadow or a silhouette of a worm following. If you give it the right action, you're more than likely will get a reaction bite from them rather than a finicky bite, and they'll be like, it looks like a worm. I can't tell. It doesn't have any sparkles. It doesn't have anything that makes me want to think it's not real. So I'm just gonna suck it up and eat it. And then boom, you have your reaction bite, which you obviously want more than the finicky, I'm gonna nibble on this bite. That's one of the tricks of a trick worm. Also, using it when it's weightless helps too with the action. So you get the action right, you get the shadow right when it's hiding, you can actually trick it. Another way, and another big color is, I said pumpkin seed, but there's also watermelon seed, which is more of a green color. And they aren't exactly green worms. You can say there can be some sort of greenish ones, but not traditionally. Traditionally, the area you're working your fish around are green. You have lily pads, or you have like a brown log, and the pumpkin seed will kind of like camouflage with the log, and the watermelon seed will camouflage with the grass and the lily pads and leaves and wherever else is in the water. Green and brown is very prominent in pretty much every water. I'm looking at a very large swath of green-blue algae, along with that helping the grass explode because of the 90-degree plus heat forever and ever around here in stagnant water, which helps cyanobacteria bloom. So the fact is that the green color itself makes it look like the worm has been in the environment a while, and it started to, well, worms aren't really camouflaged, but it's kind of like the silhouette thing. It's trying to hide. It can't tell that it's a fake worm, so it has to go by the silhouette or the color that it sees. It sees green, but it looks like a worm. So they get, one, curious, and two, they have a reaction bite that they'd rather have a meal than guess it's not a meal and then be hungry. Take what's given to you. That's what I believe a largemouth bass motto is, or smallmouth bass, or most fish that can get their mouth around this 6-inch worm. And with that, you have another type of reaction bite. It's a little, I'd say it's not quite as good as a blackworm, because a blackworm is like a complete shadow. They have no idea what it is. It just looks like a worm. It looks like maybe an eel, which I saw a bird find over here amongst all this grass and then suck it down. So if you're in certain areas where American eels go up the rivers, it could look like an eel, because an eel is black. It's shaped the same way, it moves a similar way, except that it swims to the water. So having a faster retrieve, a faster bounce along the bottom, which is where you will find the eels, could actually get you some action with some bass, and you could use a slightly different technique. But most people don't think about eel fishing for bass, unless it's a striped bass, which is what they're very popular for doing. But it can work for largemouth bass too, if those eels come into the river, just like I am here, because the ocean is only a mile away from where I'm standing right now. There's only a small dam that actually splits it. So there are many other colors: purple, yellow, neon, etc., etc., etc. But in all reality, pretty much every other color other than black, watermelon seed / green, and pumpkin seed / brown are just trying to get reaction bites. They're really not a reaction, but yes, reaction. It's more of to get the fish's attention and to get a reaction bite on top of that. You don't want them to think, because if they think about a purple worm, I think they know that it's not a worm. You want them to see what looks like the shape of a worm and get the reaction bite. So pretty much every other color is reaction bite. With a lot of these, you can trick the worm with using your technique, using the shadows, using a confusion, or using scents as well, once you get them attracted. And that can make them hang on later and question their own mind, or whether this is a real worm or not. So Zoom worm colors are vast as well. They sell them all because, people do buy them all, but they know that their mainstays are going to be watermelon seed, pumpkin seed, black, and maybe a few others that go along this line as well. And then maybe somebody will grab some random ones in case the fish are going crazy, and they'll throw a purple one and they want only crazy reaction bites on top of that. They want them to see it and not miss it through some dark water, big purple, big neon, and that's how they're gonna bite. Now in the ocean, you may see people with glow sticks added to the bait to get bluefish who are very aggressive to do the same thing. It's really dark, they go at night, and they put the bait down, they can smell it, but if they have a little attractant of a light going to it, they're more likely to go toward the light like a moth, and then they see the bait, which gives you a higher probability of catching fish in the area, while everybody else is going in dark mode, and you have a single light there like an angler fish luring them in, and then once they see the bait under the light, they bite it. It's the same thing that happens at piers. The fish go to the light and the bigger fish come in to get the smaller fish. So if you're looking for a Zoom plastic worm, they're fantastic. I would say go for the Zoom trick worms, and go to the Zoom trick worm article that I have on the website, and you'll see exactly how you can use these, what techniques you can use, how to hook it, how to rig it, weightless, weights, Carolina rig, etc., etc. And make sure that when you're looking for, or when you are actually trying to buy different worm colors, that you think about the things I've said today about how worms are going to bite. Stick with your brown and greens and your blacks, and then grab a few around in that area if you want to play around, or you're into a very unique situation, dark water, aggressive fish, and you want to try something else out. But in reality, for a mainstay and a basic lure selection, you should stick with the brown, the green, and the black. So hopefully that answers your question on what color worm for bass you should use, and you can get out there and go fishing and have a great time. So while you're at it, please go to the website fishingatwork.com and get the 10-step process to go fishing at work PDF. You just have to sign up with your email and it will be sent to you immediately, and then you will get I would say twice weekly emails about helpful hints just as this right in your inbox. And also you should go to the YouTube channel and subscribe. I'm releasing videos almost every day. with valuable information just like this. So, Dwight Norris, FishNetwork.com, signing out.